The best part about being home is having my family.
What I missed most when I was away from my family was my family.
My mother, my brother, my aunts, my uncles, my little baby cousins.
Now I can see them every day. When I wake up, I know they're there. When I go to sleep, I know they're still there.
Every child needs to have someone that loves them and has a place to call home.
My plan for when I was aging out, I really didn't have one. I probably would have felt a little confused about how I was going to get a job, or how I was going to get a house, food, things I needed to survive.
What I would say to a new caseworker is never put a youth in a placement and assume that there is no other option for that youth. I think we have to make reintegration a priority. We have to find the resources to support it. We also have to engage youth, parents, community, and other systems.
If we really listen to what families need and want, that we can provide a wraparound array of services and supports that help families strengthen their ability to parent.
I think the primary issue is finding that caregiver, whether it's a biological parent, a relative, fictive kin, who is interested in caring for a child. From there, if we have a child who has complex mental health needs, we can build the supports around that child and that family so we can reintegrate the child into the home. If you create the right supports, provide the right support to the caregiver and the right education, that child can succeed in the community.
The CPS Reintegration Project is a set of services, it's a philosophy that we help to get children out of CPS state custody and back to their families, either to a parent or another relative caregiver or a symbolic relative.
Without the CPS Reintegration Project, a lot of our older youth would either languish in residential treatment centers or age out of the system without having forever families.
We work with the family for at least 3 months to prepare them for this transition. We ensure that the placement that the youth is currently at, they are working to prepare the youth. We ensure that there are visits happening, that the child is getting used to the caregiver if they don't already have that bond.
So that when the youth does come back home, everything is sort of already in place, and the transition is so much easier when there's a big team working together. It's usually an interdisciplinary team.
We do transition planning, and we put services and supports and a team in place for the youth so that when they come home, they and the family will have the support that they need to be successful. And then once the youth is home, we work with them for up to a year or so to help stabilize and maintain that placement.
This project has given us an opportunity to really look at the number of youth of color who are in out-of-home placement, specifically in residential treatment centers.
The children who were referred to the Reintegration Project were primarily children of color. That's reflective of the disproportionately high numbers of children of color in the foster care system. As a result, it's really important to design programs that are reflective of those populations. It's very important to provide training for staff who work within those programs, who work with families, to learn about family engagement, to learn about how to provide culturally competent services to those families, to understand the community from which they come, to understand the unique components within the community that can be utilized as part of the support network for children as they become reintegrated.
When I look at success stories with this project, I think of 3 particular families that are part of this video. And what I see are 3 very unique and different families from different backgrounds, from different experiences, working with children who had unique challenges, but very different challenges.
When I was 10, I got taken away from my grandparents to a place.
For Cassius and his family, it was definitely a unique situation where there was definitely a lot of family bond. There was a huge interest in Cassius returning home. However, Cassius did have some major needs that he needed to get addressed.
No, they said that, first they said we couldn't take care of him because we were too old. And I was sick. I just come out of the hospital, I had a stroke.
The CPS Reintegration Project has been helpful to Cassius and his family by mainly being able to keep them together forever once CPS stepped out of the picture.
They let us know that we could adopt Cassius, and we were really happy.
The grandparents needed a lot of emotional as well as physical and financial support.
They showed us how to take care of the boys, told us what to do in order to get the boys.
If we hadn't got involved with him or trying to get him straightened out, he would probably be back down there again, out on the street, running around.
No, I think he'd be in some prison somewhere.
Having him back with us is a wonderful feeling.
When I first went into care was back in 2000 when my rights were terminated.
She was in CPS custody for 9 years in multiple placements, psychiatric hospitals, residential treatment centers, foster homes, and shelters. She was removed from her mother, along with 3 of her siblings, for neglect. And she was really struggling. And after 9 years in care, her CASA volunteer thought, this isn't working, we have to try something else. She's getting close to being 18 years old, and she's going to age out of the system and not have anything or anyone.
She started out in foster care with a couple, along with her other 3 siblings. That's when she started into foster care. From there, she went, instead of going uphill, she went downhill, and she was removed, so she kept hopping from one place to another.
That is when I had started misbehaving. And I had to be taken away from them to another home. What I wanted to happen in terms of me going to live, I really, really wanted to go back home with my mom. But obviously it wasn't doable at the time.
Through her 9 years, she had accumulated multiple diagnoses, a lot of medication, a lot of unhealthy coping skills so that she would express her anger and frustration and harm toward other people, aggression, verbal and physical aggression.
When I was in care, I was so determined not to get adopted. I was when her rights were terminated, I was just the devil's child. I would not stay in one place.
Within a few months of coming home, she was off of all of her medications. She was going to school every day, whereas before she was having truancy issues, and she even lost a lot of credits because she refused to go to school. There were no behaviors, no crises, not one issue when this youth was home. And so this youth who was, on multiple medications and had multiple diagnoses is no longer considered mentally ill, no longer considered to have mental health challenges, which tells us maybe she didn't have any biologically based mental health challenges, but she really just needed to be with her family.
The only place I had really ever wanted to be was home. No matter how much help I received from care, trying to work it out in foster homes, it's kind of a little pathetic because my family, it's nothing compared to being with my family and working out all those problems with people people who you love.
There's a caregiver who has also helped us learn a lot and has just done fabulously. the youth in her care was actually a nephew of hers that she had adopted. He had been through some pretty severe trauma as a younger child, multiple types of abuse and neglect.
And he eventually went into a family placement that didn't work well for him, and eventually was taken by CPS. And, he went from one placement to another, and, kind of was shifted around, and it eventually took a toll on him and his safety, his mental stability. Even if he didn't have the unstable environments that he had that had caused additional issues for him, I didn't have the parenting skills to take care of him. CPS Reintegration Project gave us all the tools and resources we need to be successful parents.
He has moved from a self-contained classroom on an alternative educational campus to being in a mainstream classroom in a regular school. He's successfully graduated from therapy. He's in the summer. He was in normal camps, and all of this we feel is because this caregiver was willing to do whatever it took to get this youth back home. And what we think we've seen here is that a lot of these youth's challenges in the child welfare system are really as a function of them being in the child welfare system and not with their families.
We have to tell the story about the success of reintegration and really use that to get caseworkers and managers energized about the possibilities of reintegration and the difference that it can make in the lives of our children and our youth and the families as a whole.
It's an ambitious goal, but we think it's possible to help the legal system, the child welfare system, start thinking about community options for youth with significant needs.
Agencies and individual caseworkers can do a variety of things to support youth in care, reintegration for youth in care. Among those would include providing time for staff to be able to work with families and those youth, transportation for families to be connected to their youth, training for staff, good connections within the community, and agencies must be able to provide flexible funding to allow these programs to be successful.
I can't necessarily put a finger on what has been the most enjoyable or the best part of Matthew coming home, other than that's the way I think it's meant to be.
It's a good feeling to see them come up together, and we'll be part of it. It's a good feeling.
It's a good feeling, you can't get any better than that.
He means the world to me. He means the world to me.